You know, evil doesn't always wear horns and carry a pitchfork. Sometimes evil wears a bad wig, flaps fake eyelashes like a deranged Muppet, or it screeches from the house floor with an intellectual depth of a gnat. Yes, I'm actually talking about both Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and her spiritual sister in stupidity, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. Two women, two wicked women who they wouldn't know goodness or virtue if it climbed into bed with them every single night and tucked them in. Okay? Today, I want to talk about how it is time that we pull the mask off of these disciples of darkness once for all and tell the truth about who these people really are. Let's get into this. Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman as we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I'm your host, April Chapman, and welcome to today's show. So Fox News recently aired the remarks from both Jasmine Crockett and AOC, and it was in response to a House resolution that was honoring my friend and brother, Charlie Kirk. And I just want to start out by just saying this. I want to be very clear that the wickedness that we saw from these women, it was on full display. Because instead of uniting, all right, against political violence after Charlie's assassination, these two wicked witches of the West, they chose to spit on my brother's grave. I want you guys to take a look at this.
Thank Gentleman Representative Green for his graciousness. Today, the Republican House majority brought to the floor a resolution honoring, quote, honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's assassination was a horrific and vile attack and incident of political violence. And condemning the depravity of Kirk's brutal murder is a straightforward matter, one that is especially important to help stabilize an increasingly unsafe and volatile political environment where everyday people feel more at risk. We can deeply disagree and come together as a country to denounce the horror of this killing. And it is not a license for the abuse of power and whitewashing of American history. Today's resolution only underscores the majority's recklessness by choosing to author this condemnation and honoring on a purely partisan basis, instead of uniting Congress in this tragedy with one of the many bipartisan options to condemn political violence and Kirk's murder, as we did with the late Melissa Hortman. Instead, the majority proceeded with a resolution that brings great pain to the millions of Americans who endured segregation, Jim Crow, and the legacy of bigotry today. We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was. A man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a mistake, who after the violent attack on Paul Pelosi claimed that, quote, some amazing patriot, unquote, should bail out his brutal assailant, and accused Jews of controlling, quote, not just the colleges, it's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it, unquote. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working, quote, working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution. It is equally important that Congress does unite to reject the government's attempt to weaponize this moment into an all-out assault on free speech across the country, all in the name of Charlie Kirk. President Trump and the FCC are now cynically threatening to shut down ABC and any outlets who give airtime to the administration's political critics. This is a disgusting attack on the American people and the very First Amendment rights that define us as a country. It is also the ABC Corporation's responsibility to refuse to embolden and participate in this corruption and escalation of censorship. We continue to pray for Mr. Kirk's family and loved ones in the wake of this terrible act. I am thinking especially of his children and his wife, whose grief cannot be measured.
Well, on that note, I do want to turn to something that you heard the senator just say, which is he was talking about a resolution that came before the House this past week honoring Charlie Kirk. And there were 58 Democrats who voted against it. You were one.
Yeah.
Why?
Absolutely. You know what? One of the things I do want to point out that's not been laid out that honestly hurts my heart is when I saw the no votes, there were only 2 Caucasians. For the most part, the only people that voted no were people of color because the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. And so it is unfortunate that even our colleagues could not see how harmful his rhetoric was specifically to us. And I can tell you that a month prior to him passing away, he had actually gotten out on his podcast. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but he got out there and he was talking negatively about me directly. So if there was any way that I was going to honor somebody who decided that they were just going to negatively talk about me and proclaim that I was somehow involved in the great white replacement, yeah, I'm not honoring that kind of stuff, especially.
Now, that may have been hard to listen to. And to be honest, part of me, you guys, refuses to accept that this is how these 2 wicked women actually think. But as far as we know, their words absolutely do reflect how they feel. So I'm going to take both of them at their word. So first, let me go ahead and just deal with Jasmine, crooked letter I, Crockett. Okay, this evil, brain-dead dingbat actually racialized the vote. She sat there and she pointed out that, quote, most people who voted were not, or who voted no, were people of color, as if it was some sort of good thing. Now, it seems to me as if melanin somehow now grants you the right to disdain a murdered man in cold blood. How can this woman utter such wickedness? I do not know. But if what I heard is true, then the logical conclusion is that Black people are unable to discern right from wrong. When given a decision, they will choose wickedness over virtue and righteousness. That is what I gleaned from her statements. Now, I personally do not believe that about Black people, but here's what I do believe. I do believe that the Blacks in Congress that did vote no, those Blacks are absolutely tools of Satan. Yes, I said it. Those are the Blacks that they've drawn the lines in the sand and they've made it very clear that no matter what, they are going to choose to be unrighteously tribal when given the choice to take a stand for righteousness. Let me be clear. I need to be clear about this because it is time to set the record straight. Charlie Kirk didn't go after people because of their skin color. In fact, he didn't go after people at all. He argued ideas. In fact, if you want to be real technical, he didn't disparage Black people at all. Let me tell you what he did do. He went after leftists in Birkenstocks or Black leftists in Balenciaga. It did not matter to Charlie. Charlie was coming for all of the nonsense, and he would do it with logic, facts, and scripture. I know that it's difficult for some people to separate, right? Anytime they hear criticism that has something to do with them because of they idolize their melanin, they believe that it is coming from a place of hatred versus somebody who is observing reality and speaking the truth. Now, to be clear, all Blacks are not lefticals, okay? Some of us actually care about the truth. A lot of us care about doing what is right. And believe it or not, there are tons of us out here who actually believe the Bible, and we reject the unrighteous tribalism of Black America. We understand that our people are the ones who do the will of our Father in heaven. We're not looking to have solidarity with people on the basis of skin color. Our people, our tribe are the ones that are anchored and tethered to the scriptures. And when given a choice, we will reject your racist, wicked rhetoric all day long and twice on Sundays. But you see, none of that matters to people like Jasmine Crockett and AOC. None of it matters, because what does Crockett do? She sat there on camera, dripping with ignorance off of her lips, trying to make everything about race as if she's on some sort of moral high ground. The woman who wants to murder babies wholesale and doesn't believe that if you break the law, that it's a crime. Newsflash, you're not on some moral high ground, Jasmine. You represent the evil, and the evil that permeates in the halls of our Congress. You are pushing that. You are evil, and your ideas are evil, and that's why they are rejected. They should be rejected. And then here comes AOC. She's now leading the charge against honoring Charlie Kirk, did so on the House floor, and with her trademark wide-eyed moral indignation, she calls Charlie's beliefs ignorant and uneducated. And I'm like, really, AOC? Really? I mean, this is coming from someone whose economics degree couldn't even prepare her to pour beer without sounding stupid. And she still hasn't learned a thing about economics or how the real world works, because she's out here endorsing Zohran Mamdani, a communist and a socialist. So that lets you know she's not wrapped up too tight in the brain. And then she has the gall, the unmitigated gall, to call honoring Charlie Kirk a partisan decision. Partisan, AOC? No, boo-boo. Partisan is when you and 58 other Democrats voted against honoring a man who was assassinated for his beliefs, while 60 more of your freak nasty colleagues were too cowardly to even show up and cast a vote at all. That's not principled leadership. It shows that you people are morally bankrupt, and it is no wonder you are bleeding voters left and right. I can't tell you how many videos I've seen of Black people, white people, all kinds of people of different ethnic persuasions saying they are done with the left because the level of evil and wickedness that has been emanating from your side since September 10th is at an all-time high, and they can no longer stomach the thought for throwing their support behind you evil, wicked, freak nasty Diddycrats. That is the truth. Now, even in light of that, with me still being angry, yes, it is still raw. The good news is that the masks are off. Oh, that is absolutely good news. There's no more pretending that these people are just confused, or, they're just a little misguided, or, they just need, if we just gave them a little civics lesson. These people are not in need of a little civics tutoring. No, that is not what's wrong with them. These women and their colleagues are willfully and they're maliciously lying. All of them are lying. And what did Jesus tell us? He told us, you are of your father, the devil. He was speaking of the Pharisees, and he says, the will of your father, and your will is to do your father's desires. He's speaking of the Pharisees, but that is the camp that these people are in. They have chosen their side. Their father is the devil, and this is why the deeds of the devil is what they do. So to be clear, Charlie Kirk stood for truth. And there's so many pro-blackity blacks out here who don't know that, because their ears are too stopped up and their hearts are too full of hatred and idolatry of their skin to actually sit and listen to a debate from Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk stood for every sane, moral person, and every sane and moral person should be applauding and celebrating his life. Do you want to know? I compiled a list, a nice little list of all of the things that Charlie Kirk stood for. And when I go through them, and this is not some exhaustive list, this is just a short little list. We're going to start with number one, pro-life values. Charlie stood for pro-life values, meaning We protect the innocent from the womb to the tomb. Why? Because God is the giver of life, and only He alone reserves the right to give it or take away. I don't see what's so wrong with that. The left believes that if they don't like what you say, if they don't like your words, that any other image bearer has the right to just take your life out. Why? It's because these people have a godlike complex. They lack the humility and the fortitude to recognize that they are here breathing the God of the universe's air. And He allows them to live despite the asp and the wickedness that spits out of their mouth. Charlie also believed in the nuclear family. Yes, I know it's novel, so controversial to actually believe that a mom and a dad married and then children born from that union is something wrong with that. But Charlie believed in that, and he preached it often. And he would encourage young people, which is the opposite of what the left is doing, to get married, have lots of babies, stay in your one flesh union with the wife of your youth, and may she satisfy you all the days of your life. Charlie preached that. The left is saying, go out here, ride the cock carousel, be a thought, sleep with as many people as you can, and if the drugs that we're pushing that's supposed to protect you can't, live with HIV and hope for the best. That's what the left teaches you. Charlie also believed in closed borders. Closed borders, I know, it is so controversial because, I don't know. No one just randomly lets strangers enter their home without vetting them first. So in the same way, you can't just come here without us doing our due diligence first and figuring out who you are. That is just common sense. That is just common sense. What is wrong with that? Nothing. Charlie also believed in school choice. Yes, school choice. Charlie understood the dangers and the pitfalls of government education, and he believed that parents, not the government, should have the right to choose how and where their children should be educated. And since we don't share custody of our children with the government, school choice is needed for those who want it. Now, if you don't want it, that's fine. You are free to send your kids to Caesar. But many of us, that is a no-go. Not going to happen. We don't want to send our children to Caesar and then be confused why they come home as Romans. We want school choice so that we can make the best educational decisions for our own children. Okay? Charlie also believed this one's really controversial. I don't know how he lived this long. 2 genders. That's it. I'm sorry. Charlie refused to bow the knee to your lunacy, and neither will I, okay? The annals of time and history and biological reality was on our side, okay? You're in a minority here. You cannot, nor will you ever be able to change from male to female or vice versa. And anyone who tells you that it is possible, they are a liar. They are a liar, and they hate you because they don't love you enough to speak the truth to you. That is a fact. Charlie also believed in free speech. That's actually what granted him the kill shot. Free speech. We believe, as well as Charlie, that you have the right to speak your mind, and we have the right to disagree. Okay? No one should be assassinated for ideas that oppose yours. And if it hurts your little feelings so bad, why don't you just work harder and craft better ideas? That's just a thought. This one, I don't know why it's so controversial. Charlie believed in law and order. Yes, a well-ordered society must have law and order. John Locke said it best. Our Constitution, it is only fit for a moral and a religious people. Why? Because it is wholly inadequate for any other. Meaning, if the people that the Constitution is designed to govern, if we lack morals, and if religion goes out of the window, the Constitution will be inadequate. And this is why we're in a constitutional crisis. This is why they want to dismantle the Constitution and replace it with something else, because the hearts and the minds of the people that it is currently governing, it is inadequate for them. Leftists absolutely love. Leftists love chaos. They love anarchy. And this is what they are known for. Since the formation of this country, the Democrat Party, all they've ever done is be a bunch of low-down rebels who don't want to do right, and they don't want to do what they're supposed to do. Why? For the sake of the union, because it's always been about them. They've always been the party of rebellion. This country nearly split in half because of the rebellion of these jokers. And I don't know why we keep thinking that these people have changed. They are the same party of yesteryear. We need law and order. And Charlie was an advocate for that. I don't know what's so evil about law and order, because when you have law and order, there's peace. But see, Satan loves chaos and anarchy. He's the only one that balks when there is peace and complains and finds something wrong when there is peace. Charlie also believed that it was wrong, and actually we agree with him on this, it was wrong for white men to be demonized for existing. That is absolutely wrong. I mean, how is this controversial? Right? To say that no one should be demonized for existing, and the fact that we have been living under this kind of rhetoric for the past 16 years is what got us here. White liberals, for whatever reason, I guess, due to white guilt, and then the black liberals, due to some sort of inferiority complex, has made it okay to demonize just being a white man in America, just self-existing, causes them angst, and it is wrong. It is sinful, and it is wrong. All mankind is made in the image of God, and you should not be made to feel like you have to minimize how God made you to exist and display his glory in the earth just because it makes somebody else feel better about themselves. That is not your problem, and that is not your burden to bear. And to be fair, y'all ain't gonna like this, but white people love you, but y'all allowed this. You allowed this, you fell asleep at the wheel, and you let these leftical liberals guilt you into making you think that you did something wrong. Maybe your ancestors did, but what does that have to do with you? Nothing. There's no way I'd ever allow someone to make me demonize myself so that they could feel better when I know I've done nothing wrong. That is insane. And if you've done it, you need to repent. Full stop. Now, what else did Charlie stand for? Outside of him advocating that white men should not be demonized for existing, Charlie loved conservatives of every race. Why is that? Charlie loves conservatives of every race because conservatism was the worldview that it was what was behind the conservatism that Charlie loved so much. What was that? A biblical worldview. Just like me, I love conservatives of all stripes. Those are my people. That's my tribe. But do you know who I love more than conservatives? Believers. Those followers of the way, followers of the Lord Jesus. Oh yes, I have much unity with a conservative, but when I find out what is actually driving your values, when I hear your story, why is it that you think and believe the way that you do? That is when I identify a family member. I'm like, that's a brother or sister right there. Why? Because we have the same father. Our politics flows from our biblical worldview. This is why I have unity with all kinds of people. I don't have all of these hypersensitive conversations where every time somebody says something, I'm like, oh, I'm offended because, that white person said something. It sounded like, it had a little hint of racism in it. And it just made me so uncomfortable and I'm offended and my feelings are hurt. Like, listen, I don't have those kinds of discussions. First of all, as a Christian, if someone has done nothing but show me kindness and they've been charitable toward me, even if they do say something that may be a little inappropriate and out of pocket, do I have any room in my heart to give that person a little grace? Can I first think the best of them before I assume the worst? Or is my knee-jerk reaction, see right there, they must be racist? All that is me projecting an inferiority complex on them. because it's how I'm feeling. It's just like the woman who's always thinking her man is cheating on her. I seen you over there looking at her, but you want to sleep with her, don't you? You're like, yo, wait a minute. Like the dress is nice, but we haven't even got to the step yet. I ain't looked at it long enough to go there. That's what you sound like when you assume the worst of every interaction that happens to involve a person of a different ethnicity than you. Charlie also believed in heterosexuality. I know, it's funny. It is so funny to me that the party of tolerance can tolerate everything except what is normal. Like if it's a societal norm, they can't handle it. Charlie believed there was a perversion of God's design to co-sign homosexuality. Charlie loved all kinds of people. He's had homosexuals on his show, loved them, was gracious and charitable toward them, but he didn't have to agree with your lifestyle choice to do it. He just stood on his square, affirming the biblical model, and there is nothing wrong with that. Now, affirming the biblical model and disagreeing with homosexuality, those two things can happen at the same time. I've seen it done. I know people who are homosexual, and I can have a conversation with them and treat them as a fellow image bearer without co-signing their wickedness. Don't have to do it. No different than I don't have to co-sign any other person who's doing wicked deeds. I love them enough to treat them as a human. Next on the list of all the things that Charlie advocated for was legal immigration. Yes, if you recognize that America is amazing, and you honestly believe that based on your hard work and a will to thrive, that you can make something of yourself here, then by all means, come on in. Charlie was like, yes, let's do it. But don't you dare think you about to scratch through the fence. That is not how we do it. Don't you dare come here and not knock on the door and introduce yourself and allow us to say, sure, welcome to our home. Why? Because it's disrespectful. Show some gratitude, wait your turn, and we will roll out the red carpet for you. But if you try to come any other way, 1, you won't be respected, and 2, you should be deported. Full stop. You don't get rights and privileges by jumping the line and usurping the method and the provisions that we've put in place for you to come here. You're not running the show. We are. Why? Because it's our home. This is our domain and our domicile. Just like you don't get to come and knock on my door and demand entry. I have a right to look at you like you crazy and slam the door clear in your face. Because if you show up here, that's absolutely what's going to happen. Charlie also believed in meritocracy. I know that's such a dirty word, right? I know leftists cannot stand merit. Well, one is because they're lazy, but Charlie believed that all men should go out there and earn their way. Go out there and hunt, homie. And this is the thing I loved about him. I admire, first of all, I admire any man that got a little hustle in him, right? You got a little hustle, some drive, the sheer grit to go and do what's hard to achieve something great. You're my people. You are my people. Now, I know liberals can't relate to that because they lazy and they shiftless and they always want to ride off the backs and the coattails of what others have done and what others are doing. But meritocracy is virtuous. It just is. Meritocracy is how you earn respect. No one respects a beggar. No one respects a whiner. That's a position of weakness, not strength. No one values a thing that they haven't worked for. And if you don't put some skin in the game, and if you act entitled, I mean, have we not seen enough of that from the left? We've seen enough of that from the left. Now, out of all of those things, ending with meritocracy that I've just explained, now you tell me which one of those is evil. I'll wait. Which one of those is evil? Now, I, from this vantage point, can't see which one of those are evil, and neither can the left. They can't answer that because they don't debate ideas. What they do is they delete opponents. When the left can't win with reason, they resort to slander and censorship because, Lord forbid, they can't have everybody else exposed to your arguments because, well, shoot, you may sway the popular opinion and they can't have that. And this is why they ultimately end up crashing out in violence because they cannot handle the truth and they don't have anything to combat their bad ideas. So I just ran down to you just some of the things that Charlie Kirk advocated for. And my charge to you is if Charlie's life meant anything, and it did, it means you out there, you can't shirk back. No. We don't cower because AOC calls us ignorant or because Jasmine Crockett whines about skin color. Listen, the whiners are going to whine and the losers will continue to lose. But we stand firm. And we stand firm because the same way that they hated Charlie, they're going to hate us too. If you believe the things that Charlie believed, please know that the hate is coming your way. But guess what? Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Those are the words of Jesus. And here's one thing that I am absolutely sure of. I am confident that Charlie Kirk's legacy won't be erased by brain dead dingbats or a fake Bronx bartender. I'm just confident of that. And it's because his legacy, I witnessed it firsthand. Charlie's legacy is written in the lives that he touched, in the truth that he defended, and in the kingdom impact that he made. And believe me, that legacy is ours to carry forward. But I want you to ask yourself, just ask yourself, when the left calls good evil and then evil good, will you be found standing with the truth? Or are you going to be found cowering in silence? Which one is you? That's the choice that's before each of us today. And so I'm interested and curious to know, what do you guys think? Why do you think Jasmine Crockett goes on TV with her blatant lies? And to be fair, these lies can be easily refuted. Why won't she say specifically the things about Charlie Kirk and his ideas? Which ones of his ideas were so bad? Why can't we ever have her articulate his bad ideas? Notice how they only speak in generalities. They never get specific. She just hurls these accusations and then the media just allows it to go and unchecked and unchallenged. But I can guarantee you there will never come a day where Jasmine Crockett will sit across from someone like me and debate the ideas because she will lose. She will lose miserably. And if you're from her camp and if you know her, send this to her and ask her what things on that list, what is wrong with them and why, and how is the opposite of it profitable and helpful for American human flourishing. I welcome the debate. But I'm curious to know what you think. Leave me your comments down below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.